Blackstone, the industrial heart of another era. A beam of light cuts into the workshop through the doorway, catching dust in the air and laying a real sense of time across the metal. In front of us sits a large Blackstone stationary diesel, an engine that stayed in one place, yet had the strength to carry a whole workshop. It does not travel because it does not need to. Its job is to make everything else move. Generators, pumps, line shafts. Systems where missing even a single beat could stop the entire operation. Blackstone, the industrial heart of another era. A beam of light cuts into the workshop through the doorway, catching dust in the air and laying a real sense of time across the metal. In front of us sits a large Blackstone stationary diesel, an engine that stayed in one place, yet had the strength to carry a whole workshop. It does not travel because it does not need to. Its job is to make everything else move. Generators, pumps, line shafts, systems where missing even a single beat could stop the entire operation. And because old engines love to test your patience, something always tries to go wrong. Sometimes the oil control ring snaps during assembly, and you have to replace it on the spot. It is a small failure that triggers a long chain of rechecks because restoration does not forgive carelessness. That is the beauty of the journey. You are not only fixing a machine, you are learning to the flywheel, inertia behind heavy, slow, tough. The flywheel looks like a thick steel ring. It is massive, heavy, and powerful even when it turns slowly. On engines like the Blackstone, it is not an accessory. It is the core of stability. It stores rotational energy and holds inertia. It keeps the engine's rhythm steady like a clock. When the load changes, the flywheel absorbs the difference and smooths out the surge. The engine does not stumble. It does not jolt. It does not lose its breath. That is why people loved these machines, slow but sure. The sound is deep and even, like a big ship leaving harbor. Never rushed, but hard to stop once it is moving. That steadiness used to be gold on farms and in factories. Engines ran for hours, sometimes all day, in conditions far from ideal. From generating electricity to pumping water and driving equipment, everything depended on power that was reliable and built to last. And because old engines love to test your patience, something always tries to go wrong. Sometimes the oil control ring snaps during assembly, and you have to replace it on the spot. It is a small failure that triggers a long chain of rechecks because restoration. the startup ritual, when human and machine converse. With older engines, starting is not just a procedure, it is a conversation between the operator and the machine. First comes observation. You look at the engine body, the lubrication points, the oil lines, and any place that might leak, seize, or bind after years of standing still. Next comes lubrication checks and feeling the mechanism by hand. Levers, the starting handle, and the linkages should move through their full travel. No stiffness, no grit, no strange noise. These steps are not unnecessary fuss. They protect metal from dry friction. They protect bearings and shafts. They save working surfaces that only survive when properly fed with oil. They also protect the operator. Vintage engines can react very honestly. If the sequence is wrong, kickback can strike back immediately. That is why experienced hands move slowly and surely. They follow the order like muscle memory. And because old engines love to test your patience, something always tries to go wrong. Sometimes the oil control ring snaps during assembly, and you have to replace it on the spot. It is a small failure that triggers a long chain of rechecks because restoration does not forgive carelessness. That is the beauty of the journey. You are not only fixing a machine, you are learning to respect every detail. And once the mechanical side is finally right, you move into the Lister D, compact, easygoing, and a classic fair favorite. After the towering Blackstone, we step into something more familiar, compact stationary engines where practicality comes first. And here, the Lister D is the name almost everyone recognizes. Produced for decades, it earned its reputation by being durable, straightforward, easy to operate, and especially easy to restore. The power is not huge, but it is enough for real work. Pumping water, driving a generator, mixing concrete, running a mill. In the past, having steady power like that could transform daily life. What makes the Lister D so lovable is how easy it is to live with it. Depending on the place and the era, it could run on petrol or a petrol-kerosene mix. Its layout stays clear and uncomplicated. The longer it runs, the more it proves its value. Fewer small failures, easier repairs, parts that are often easier to source within the vintage engine community.
Alongside the map is a compact kit, small enough to fit in a jacket pocket, a zip bag, wet wipes, a small water bottle, a bit of soap, and sealable waste bags. It sounds ordinary, but it reduces illness. It reduces panic. You can wash your hands. You can dispose of waste discreetly. You don't have to carry contamination through the rest of the day. I once heard a volunteer hand over a kit and say calmly, "So you don't have to take risks." That's the difference.
Next, we step into even more ritualized procedures. Lister Jr. Restoration is not a straight line. The Lister Jr. feels like opening an old diary. Engines like this usually arrive after years of neglect, covered in dirt, surface rust, dried oil, and wear you cannot see at first glance. So the first step is always a full checkup. Is there still compression? Is anything seized? How far have the working surfaces worn? And is there any part that must be replaced immediately to prevent damage from spreading? Then comes disassembly. Restoration begins with cleaning, evaluating, and repairing one subassembly at a time. The parts that decide whether the engine will fire get priority. The valves must seal to hold compression. The guides must be true so airflow goes where it should. The piston must be clean, and the rings must regain a tight seal in the combustion chamber. Leave one tiny leak, and the engine can spin forever without catching, or catch and run unevenly. And because old engines love to test your patience, something always tries to go wrong. Sometimes the oil control ring snaps during assembly, and you have to replace it on the spot. It is a small failure that triggers a long chain of rechecks because restoration does not forgive carelessness. That is the beauty of the journey. You are not only fixing a machine, you are learning to respect every detail. And once the mechanical side is finally right, you move into the last stage. Next, we step into even more ritualized procedures from job site. Fine-tuning, and the moment the engine answers. Once assembly is done, you still cannot celebrate. A vintage engine only runs beautifully when it is set up like a clock. Valve clearance has to be correct, so the timing is clean and the valves close fully. Too loose and you lose compression. Too tight and heat builds, parts bind, and trouble begins. The ignition system also has to be solid. Good contacts, healthy high-tension leads, a strong spark at the right moment. Shift it just slightly, and the engine tells you immediately. It misfires. It shakes. It sounds rough, like it cannot find its own rhythm. That is why restorers move in small steps. They check the control mechanism and make sure every linkage moves smoothly, with no snagging and no wrong travel. Fresh oil goes in. Fuel is added. Then comes one final inspection to confirm there are no leaks, no wrong parts, and no bolts left loose. This is the quietest moment, right before everything erupts. Then the hand goes to the crank handle. Each turn is made with caution rather than force, and when the first bang breaks the silence, it feels like an answer after days of waiting. The engine has returned to its true nature. The rhythm steadies, the sound becomes rounder and more even, and the person beside it almost exhales in relief. But the story of starting the right way is not over. Next, we step into even more ritualized procedures from job site diesels. A Peter PAZ-1 and a heavy Caterpillar. Diesel procedure. Peter PAZ-1 and a heavy Caterpillar. With diesel engines, especially job site diesels, starting is not just about firing. It is about firing safely and firing in a way that protects the machine. On a Peter PAZ-1 powering a concrete mixer, the process begins with a step that sounds slow but matters deeply. Pre-circulate the lubricating oil first. The operator hand cranks for a while so oil reaches every surface before combustion and the load arrives. Only then do the controls move into the run position. Only then do you set the cold start assistance so ignition comes easier. Follow the sequence and the engine starts smoother. Do it consistently and component life looks completely different. Now take a Caterpillar from 1941 and the ritual becomes a fascinating two-stage system. A small auxiliary gasoline engine runs first. It builds warmth and oil pressure for the larger diesel. When conditions are finally right, the main diesel is engaged and brought to life. And once the diesel is running steadily, the little gasoline engine completes its job and steps away. What remains is the deep, confident roar of heavy machinery. These procedures prove something important. Older engineering was never simple. It was practical in the most intelligent way. Make the machine do what it was built to do. Reliable, durable, honest. But technique is not everything. Sometimes a machine carries the memory of a person, and that is where the story turns most emotional. A Lister A3HP and a quiet tribute. From memory to speed, Lister. A 3 HP, everyday machines, and racing legacy. There are moments when a machine becomes more than a machine. It becomes memory. A Lister A3HP is mentioned as a tribute to a former owner who has passed away, and hearing it run again feels like a greeting. No one knows when it last ran. Rust marks and fuel system residue say it has been sleeping for a very long time. So you clean it. Add water, add fuel. Then you turn the flywheel and hope. When it finally catches and runs, even if the rhythm is slightly off, the feeling is still complete. What comes back is not only an engine, it is a piece of someone's life. From there, the story widens to everyday machines that quietly earn respect. An Atco from 1954, still working each mowing season with its two-stroke Villiers 1,100 cubic centimeters engine. A compact Ransom's MG5 crawler, built for post-war agriculture. They all say the same thing in their own way. Back then, people built machines to last. Then the film cuts to a world of speed. A Henderson Deluxe 4 with its smooth inline 4. And board track racers like the Super X are light and fast, but dangerous in a way that chills you. From industry to farming to the racetrack, everything meets at one point. The desire to build something reliable and unforgettable. And now, we close the journey by looking back at the biggest thing these engines have been telling us. Eight slices of life, 8 engine sounds, but one message. History does not stay still inside a museum. It can live again through clean oil, skilled hands, and respect for the correct sequence. When the flywheel turns smoothly, you can hear the old philosophy. Slow but sure. Tough but real. Not flashy, but built to finish the job. Thank you for joining Steam Engine on this wake-up journey. If you want more deep dives into specific engines, startup procedures, or the restoration stories behind each machine, leave a comment so I can choose the next video topic.